is in the books. The apocalypse is behind us. We had an exciting day of football. Some things didn't work out the way we expected, but we got some surprise performances from guys we didn't expect to perk up. Hopefully you didn't give up on them. We're going to talk about it now on Fantasy Whiplash Live. Hey, what is up today, my peoples? I am here with my man, the myth, the legend of Footballguys fame, Colton Dodgson. Colton, say hi to the people. How you doing tonight?
I think that was a top 3 intro for me all time, and it wasn't 3 or 2. Thank you for that.
Wow.
That was elite. I am doing great. It is so great to be back with you. It's been a while, man. Thank you for having me back on the show. We had a couple good ones back in what, the off season, was it, when we were still ramping up?
Right towards the beginning of the season.
So it's great to be back. Talk some regular season action with you. Get it. You talked about some guys who popped a little this week, so get into all of that. It'll be a good time.
Yeah, I think so too. We got a lot to cover. Basically, Colton and I are just going to get through as much of it as we can. We're going to talk a little injuries. We're going to talk about some of those performances he just mentioned. And of course, we'll drop a couple waiver ideas on you, probably as we go and as well towards the end. So if I may remind everybody who's watching, please do like that video and click the subscribe button to get notifications on all of the Profiler Now shows. There's a bunch of them on this network, and they're really, really good. If you don't, you can always just ring the bell for ours, and it'll let you know every time we go on. So, Colton, let's get right to it, man.
Let's do it.
I think no better way than to start off with probably some injuries, and let's just get it out of the way. So we got a couple surprise ones, and then a couple guys that are coming back. Lamar looks like he is he was a full participant at yesterday's walkthrough.
Ooh, that sounds strenuous.
Stop the presses.
Hey, he was a full participant last week too at some point, I think. So I think it's good that we're getting it this early. So I'll take it.
Was he a full participant and they said he wasn't, or was he not a full participant and they said he was?
Man, that is an excellent question.
That John Harbaugh, man, he's got a few tweaks up his sleeve.
That he does. He can skirt that injury.
So Lamar is trending up. It looks like Lamar's going to play. If anybody saw the Minnesota game and saw the amount of pain that Carson Wentz was very clearly in, it turned out back in the London game against Cleveland, he injured that shoulder, and it was a torn labrum and a fractured socket. And he went ahead and played 2 more games after that. Which is, I mean, he's a gamer. What can I say? That's pretty sweet. But he's bound for surgery and probably a date with the couch shortly thereafter. So we're gonna go back to JJ McCarthy, who's all healed up from his ankle. How do you think he's gonna fare? I mean, he's coming right back into the well, I almost said the lion's den, and he is, because he's going to be in Detroit.
Literally, yeah.
But yeah, do you think we'll see
out.
some improvement over how he started this season?
Yeah, real
Do you
quick,
think we'll
man.
see some improvement from how he started?
Yeah, I shout out to Carson Wentz. I watched that dude throw a touchdown with a shredded knee back in 2017 to help the Birds secure the 1 seed. He's dealt with some injuries over the course of his career. He's a tough dude. Say what you will about, how he plays the position from time to time, but credit to him for playing through that. In terms of JJ McCarthy, there's a lot that has been made about Kevin O'Connell taking this opportunity as like a soft reset for him, right? There was some good, there was some not so good early in the season with JJ McCarthy. Really, outside of that fourth quarter against Chicago, it was a lot of like, okay, we need to see him settle in a little more, and he never really got that opportunity. So I think we have to kind of wait and see. This feels like a new start for McCarthy, and that may be kind of a weird way to look at it in week 9. But if that's the approach that Kevin O'Connell is taking, again, there's kind of some weird energy around the Vikings this year when they're typically like one of those teams where Kevin O'Connell has them ready to go week in, week out. There's buy-in, all that stuff. But things have been a little weird around that team this year. So I mean, he obviously has the benefit of throwing to Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison and TJ Hawkinson. That run game needs to get back on track. But I will say, I think a big variable here is that offensive line, right? We saw Brian O'Neill miss that game on Thursday night, and then Christian Darris went down as
Yeah,
well, banged up. So you need that
I
offensive line
believe.
back on track.
Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, I believe they've allowed the 4th most sacks in the league thus far. And even in that Chargers game, when Wentz was in so much pain, God, I mean, he was getting hit after passes. He took 5 sacks in that game. None of that could have felt good on that shoulder, man.
Yeah. And he's playing
So
through it, man.
you had to
Credit to him.
feel for him, but yeah, they're gonna have to get it together with McCarthy in front of them, I think.
Yeah, I'm with you. And that run game needs to come together too, man. What we saw against the Chargers, who entered that game allowing a ton of space. I want to say they were bottom 5 in yards before contact per attempt entering that Thursday night game. They had just been shredded, right? Over the last couple of weeks. And then all of a sudden they became the Cleveland Browns run defense or like the Detroit Lions run defense against
Right.
Jordan Mason and Aaron Jones. And a lot of that obviously has to do with what happens up front. And it's funny, every time you go back, like you go through these NFL offenses and you're like, hey, Chase Brown is sputtering. Hey, Saquon Barkley is sputtering. There's always a common denominator, and it is an offensive line that is still working things out. You can get that with the passing game too, right? You can see that sometimes. So I do think that is a massive variable. And regardless of who's playing quarterback, that offensive line needs to figure it out a little bit. And hopefully that mini buy helped them get a little healthier, but that's a huge variable.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, I think, like you said, with the sort of a hard reset for McCarthy, it's his first season for all intents and purposes, and they did not have an easy schedule just to open up the season. So he kind of got thrown right into the fire.
Yeah.
So at least he experienced that and then got to take a step back.
Absolutely. Yeah, and that Falcons defense, man, is no joke. And that's what he had after that. We saw the momentum at the end of week 1 and we're like, okay, maybe it just he found something a little in that fourth quarter comeback against Chicago, right? Maybe we saw something there, maybe we saw some momentum. And then went and played the Falcons, who got after him. The Falcons currently, which is weird that this past week, Tua Tagovailoa of all people figured them out, but
Burn
the
them up. Yeah.
Falcons, yeah, the Falcons blitz more than any other team in the NFL, right? They get after opposing quarterbacks, and that's kind of where we saw JJ McCarthy sputter a little bit in week 2. But at the same time, you said this is sort of, you mentioned it, this is sort of his de facto rookie season. If he's not banged up, these are lessons that he's learning along the way, and it's anybody's guess where we might see him at this point in time if he stays up, right? Sorry, my dog just hit the camera, but if he stays up, so it's one of those situations where it's like, it's a bummer that he went down, but you're right, that Falcons matchup was brutal, and now he gets the Lions den, as
Yeah, and I also didn't think. Hi, Angie. Hi, Jamie. Good to see you guys. I also didn't think it was terribly fair to Wentz for okay, Aaron Jones can block well, okay, but I didn't think it was fair for him to come back and just step in and look like he was really kind of taking the brunt of the carries over Jordan Mason, when I think the teams would have been much more scared of Jordan Mason having the ball in his hand, and all of a sudden it was Aaron Jones, and they were like, this old guy.
I think what happened with that, and the bummer of it all with that whole thing, is the roles are very skewed with Jordan Mason and Aaron Jones. They're very game plan dependent. We saw Xavier Scott, of all people, play a role as a pass catching back
Yeah.
with Aaron Jones on the shelf, right? Like, negative game scripts are just not something that Kevin O'Connell has shown us that he necessarily trusts Jordan Mason with at this point. And in that Thursday night game, the Chargers were down 14, or I'm sorry, the Vikings were down 14-0 at the start of the second quarter, right? They were down in a hurry,
Yeah.
and never really got anything going after that. So it didn't work with Aaron Jones either, but I want to say Aaron Jones had like 4 targets in that game, and he's clearly Kevin O'Connell's preference when it comes to like throwing the ball to get back into games.
Yeah, I mean, Mason's kind of got cinder blocks for hands. I think we all know that. And Aaron Jones is a very accomplished pass catcher, which is, why he's still got some longevity left in this league, because even if he's not the starting back for a team, he's going to have a role,
Mm-hmm.
So you mentioned the Falcons, and I'll mention them again. It looked like Michael Penix probably could have played last weekend, but the coaching staff decided to err on the side of being safe. He's got a leg contusion, which is basically just a bad bruise.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I thought I saw it was like a bone bruise, something that he
it really is.
End his season, right?
Yeah, they call it a contusion, and you're like, oh, and they're like, it's just a bruise. Oh,
yeah.
But anyway, so he probably could have played, and they decided, no, we'll hold you out. We think Kirk Cousins is ready. Kirk Cousins, he wasn't ready, and I mean, he didn't have Drake London. But he didn't look terribly good. He didn't look as bad as he did sometimes last year. But I think it's safe to say that they're gonna get Penix back in there this weekend pretty quickly. I don't think they had so much momentum before Tua turned the ball over, got a hold of them.
Yeah, and what was crazy about that game, man, is I mentioned it. The Falcons blitz, I want to say they were number 1 in blitz rate entering that game. And they blitzed Tua on 50% of their defensive plays. And Tua, who was one of the worst passers against the blitz in week 7 in terms of EPA per dropback, ended up throwing for 3 of his 4 touchdowns against the blitz in that game. It was just one of those, like, it's a stark reminder, and there are a few of these every week, that the NFL is truly such a week-to-week league, right? Like, you can
Well,
think you have
yeah,
the
and not only do the Falcons blitz so much, but we're talking about 1 week prior, their pass defense was absolutely shut down back there. I mean,
100%, and
nobody
that's
could catch the ball.
absolutely, and that's one of those complementary aspects of it too. When your blitz is getting home and you're getting pressure, and the quarterback doesn't have the solutions, right? That of all people, Tua Tagovailoa had, then you see your secondary get a lot more time, and they're able to limit all of that. But at the same time, too, without Michael Penix and Drake London in the mix, the Dolphins stacked the box on 29.4% of their 49 defensive plays, right? And Bijan Robinson was contacted like almost immediately, 0.38 yards before contact allowed by that Dolphins run defense. For reference, even with that number, they're still at 2 yards before contact per attempt allowed, which is third worst in the NFL. So
Yeah.
it was one of those anomaly games where, okay, I guess the Dolphins are just a shutdown run defense against Bijan Robinson of all people. And then you look at, okay, Kirk Cousins is throwing the ball to, I mean, Kyle Pitts had a big day, but Drake
Yeah.
London isn't in the mix. It makes the defensive game plan a lot more straightforward when you don't necessarily have to game plan for Drake London on the outside, right? So,
Well, and he
weird
didn't
game.
even really utilize Darnell Mooney much either. So it
Right.
was literally like everybody was keyed on Kyle Pitts at that point. Like he can
100%.
catch
And
it,
Kyle
just
Pitts
don't
still
let him
had the
go
day,
anywhere.
man. Yeah, Kyle Pitts right now, 19 targets over the last 2 weeks. It's
Yeah.
about as good as you can ask for.
Yeah, it really is. And
Yeah.
volume is king in fantasy football too. So you gotta love to see that. But yeah, that was the little bit that they just gave up on Bijan. I mean, they just stopped running him, and I couldn't. Even Arthur Smith wouldn't have done that.
No,
You
Arthur
know what I
Smith would have
mean?
run the fourth stringer. That's what he
Yeah.
would have done.
Arthur Smith would have called Cordero Patterson, had him show up to the Mercedes-Benz zone.
There you go.
Um, I've got two that are probably barely worth mentioning. Guess what? Brock Purdy's still probably not ready. They won't rule him out, but it's still too early to say, according to
Man,
Shanahan.
I
So
have
that doesn't sound too encouraging.
yeah, I have a league where I want to say week 3 or 4. And it's a league where you have 2 quarterback spots and then you have 2 super flex spots. It's a wild format. It's tough. So obviously quarterbacks are like massive in that league. And I
Yeah.
gave up a second rounder for Mac Jones. And I was like, that's entirely too rich. And now looking back on it, I'm like, I would have been hapless had I not gone out and acquired Mac Jones, right? And it's
Yeah.
a dynasty league too, so it's like, who knows? Maybe he gets an opportunity at somewhere else next year. But Mac Jones, of all people, has kept my 4 quarterback room afloat, which is
Well, yeah,
awesome.
for Mac Jones, this is 2 years in a row that he's performed pretty admirably back there when he used to just be the butt of every joke.
Yeah, man. I think they called him the assistant principal based on how he was walking down to get his draft day hat, the strut that he was going with. But yeah, man, it seems like he's inevitable at this point. He always finds his way onto the field.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, he looks a lot better than he did, back in the day. The other one is almost the exact same language. Um, According to the coach in Arizona, he says it's too early to tell. If Kyler Murray could be ready for Monday night. Kyler Murray is not only not practicing, he's not throwing the ball either, which is strange because he doesn't have any upper body injury that I'm aware of. So it looks like another Jacoby Brissett game. I just, man, I barely take the Cardinals seriously as it is.
Yeah. I did see Schefter, maybe it was like today or yesterday, mention that Kyler should make his return on Monday night. It is kind of weird that they do have the extra day too, where like Jonathan
Yeah,
Gannon, and I'd love to see some coach speak index stuff on Jonathan Gannon, because this guy is like the king of, I'm giving
right.
you exactly what I'm contractually obligated to give you and not an
Yeah,
ounce more. So it seems like Kyler may come back, but I think this is a massive game for Kyler Murray, because Jacoby Brissett was operating this offense significantly more efficiently. And I'm actually out in Arizona. I'm a little too like close to all of the Cardinals reporting. Like I wish I could just like tune the Cardinals out. It's not really a team I'm interested in hearing as much that I do about, I guess. But in any case, I hear entirely too much about them regularly. And it does feel like this is the game where if Kyler Murray, if it's a lot of the same from Kyler Murray, especially in this matchup against Dallas, like you're in year 3 of Jonathan Gannon and Monty Ossenfort. You're in like, okay, let's make decisions to save our job mode, right? Like you can't.
right.
Kyler Murray also isn't your investment. Steve Keim signed Kyler Murray to this extension, right? So are you going to buy into this sunk cost fallacy if you have a 2-game sample against 2 decent defenses, right? 2 good teams in Green Bay and Indianapolis, where Jacoby Brissett, your backup, operated this offense way more efficiently as a passer than Kyler Murray has, right? More guys were involved, and everybody was blaming Drew Petzing for this debacle. And then all of a sudden the backup comes out and is like executing this significantly better than the starter. This is
No.
going to be a massive game for Kyler Murray. If this doesn't go well, they don't even necessarily need to win, I don't think, but this offense needs to produce. If it doesn't, I don't think anything's off the table with Kyler Murray.
Yeah, I mean, it's like every facet. I mean, they're so excited about having Marvin Harrison Jr. and Kyler can't hit him, or Marvin can't catch it once it gets there. But either way, like that is a combination of players that has to perform, or this team goes absolutely nowhere
Not
at
only
all
that, man, but
fast.
yeah, and not only that, but I mean, Michael Wilson, Greg Dortch, Zay Jones. We were reminded that these guys were on the roster with Jacoby Brissett. Kyler Murray does not throw them the ball, right? It is Trey McBride, and Trey McBride has 3 touchdown catches in 2 games with Jacoby Brissett at quarterback. He had 2 touchdown receptions all season last year
Yeah, not
with
until the
Kyler Murray.
very end.
Exactly, exactly. So it's like you go down the line and it's okay. We can blame Drew Petzing for all of this, but with Jacoby Brissett, multiple receivers are contributing. Trey McBride, our best offensive weapon, is scoring touchdowns. And Marvin Harrison Jr., I'm convinced in that Colts game, he was destined for a huge day. He was already shredding that secondary before he went down with the concussion. The offense looks significantly better with Jacoby Brissett running
Right.
the show. So again, it's a really advantageous matchup against Dallas, which I think can be even more damning if Kyler Murray doesn't take advantage of it.
Yeah, I mean, I even wrote in my article today when I was referring to a couple of the waiver pickups. I was like, if you're still looking for somebody to stream, hardly anybody picked up Brissett last week, and he gets like the matchup of your dreams this week if Kyler can't go.
Yeah. Yeah, for
So,
sure,
I
man.
mean,
It's a brutal situation because it's like it's kind of it strikes me as the sunk cost fallacy just playing out. But what's interesting about that is this is not Jonathan Gannon and Monty Austin for its sunk cost. I don't know why they're so invested and making Kyler Murray happen when they are under. This is not their guy. They didn't sign him. So
Right.
like I kind of view this as like things are going to get very interesting if it doesn't turn a corner.
It's weird because Kyler doesn't even seem like, kind of like the nice guy. Like you don't want to let him go because he's such a great team player. He seems like kind of a dick,
Yeah.
honestly.
Yeah, I don't think that's unfair. Obviously I've never talked to him, but like if that's it, he doesn't give off like a different perception with how he carries himself, right?
Yeah.
Like you don't look at the way he acts and you're like, "Oh, that seems like a nice dude." It's just, and maybe that's unfair. I've never had a conversation with him, but at the same time when you've got cameras on you every week and it's
Right.
kind of
Of
like
course.
that's the energy you give off, it's as the quarterback too, that's a little troubling. So,
Yeah, well, and there were rumors a while back that he didn't run as much as he used to because he doesn't want to.
yeah.
And
That it wouldn't shock me. It
I'm
wouldn't
like,
shock me,
bro,
man.
that's kind of what got you here. It's one of the things that got you here. So
Yeah.
you can go back to packing lollipops for the guild if you want, but um,
Oh, I'll take the flag
all
on that
right,
one. That's
last
a
one,
penalty, man.
and we'll move on from quarterbacks. But they are, of course, the most important part of your team generally. Jaden Daniels, stop me if you heard this before. He could be ready for this weekend. Just monitor his progress through the week. If he can't go, it'll be Mariota again, who's still available. Bryce Young is another one who's expected to try to practice this week, but it's a high ankle sprain. He's not playing, in my
Yeah,
opinion.
I saw day to day. I always defer to my guy Adam Hutchinson on any injury related stuff. Like this dude knows his stuff. I'm on the show Sunday Morning Live with him every week, and he's got all of the intel, man. So
Yeah.
I'll wait and see, especially with this stuff where with quarterbacks, they play it so close to the chest, right? With these coaching staffs, like you
Yeah.
don't know who's gonna go.
Well,
And
they
Bryce
don't want
Young
you to
could
game plan for the other guy.
exactly. We saw Aaron Glenn really take that to the max this past week.
Oh
But
my God.
yeah, that was something to behold. Um,
He was still doing it like yesterday. They're like, so he played really well. Does that mean he's going to start next week? And he's like, I don't know. I'm like, what game are you playing?
because the thought of having to game plan for Tyrod Taylor is going to keep defensive coordinators up at night. It
Right.
is
That's right.
such a competitive advantage for Aaron Glenn to keep
Right.
the possibility alive that Tyrod Taylor is going to start. That's why, man. Come on.
So true. So true. Let me just see any other key ones I've got here. Obviously, Cam Scatterbo had a nasty dislocated ankle. He has already had surgery. He's done for the season. Shockingly low number of running back injuries this week. Again, we were talking about Barkley's got a groin issue, but he's got a bye week, so he's probably going to be all right. Hassan Haskins, I don't even know why I bother mentioning him because I think he's pretty irrelevant as far as fantasy plays go, unless Kamani Vidal falls off the roof of a building or something. But yeah, just not a whole lot of stuff going on there. Wide receivers, Puka will be back, they said. Nico Collins missed the game with a concussion, but he practiced all week while under the protocol. I would assume that he will continue to practice all week this week and then probably pass the protocol on Friday or Saturday and be good to go. And the Falcons are being very tight-lipped on Drake London. They won't say what exactly went on with the hip that kept him out of the game. So no one knows if he's coming back next week or if he just tweaked it, or nobody has any idea what the deal is.
Yeah, it's always concerning when that pops up late in the week, like a Thursday, Friday injury report cameo is never a good thing. So yeah, that's definitely something to monitor. And we saw what the Falcons looked like without Drake London in the mix.
Yeah,
Right?
I don't think it mattered who was under center. I think Penix would have
Right.
looked terrible without him too.
Yeah. And obviously I think now there's an angle where like Bijan Robinson is an otherworldly talent. There's no way that you have to ever second guess that. But what impact does Drake London have, not only on the efficiency of this offense as a whole, but how does that boil down to Bijan Robinson if Drake London misses an extended period? But again, I guess that's all hypothetical at this point. But
I mean, it's just one of those situations where, it's the old adage, you're going to run. I know you're going to run. I'm not going to be able to stop it. And then they didn't run. And Miami was like, oh, sweet.
We're
off the hook.
Yeah. It was just weird that Miami got off to that fast start too. That was another game that was 17-3 at halftime. Anytime you're in one of those types of scripts, man, teams just they can't afford to run the ball. You see them completely abandon it. And it's a bummer though that even in that type of script, Bijan couldn't get anything going as a receiver either, So it was just
but I mean, in the first
game.
half, you should still never abandon the run if you're not down 40.
100%. I'm with you.
Especially if you got somebody that can break one off at any given moment, which you can. But okay, I'll go through these real quick. The magic words here are day-to-day. Luther Burden, Brian Thomas, Jacoby Myers, Ricky Pearsall, Matthew Golden, Christian Watson, Christian Kirk, Calvin Ridley. Stop me if you heard those last two, Christian Kirk and Calvin Ridley, before. They're all day-to-day. I'm guessing the majority of them are probably going to play. Maybe not McLaurin since he re-injured his quad, but he says he's fine. But I mean, he looked pretty good in the game, didn't he? Before that happened.
Yeah, that touchdown reception was like classic Terry McLaurin, right? He's just such a weapon down there, and obviously that's incredibly valuable. But once he left this game, and it's just been Jaden Daniels is in the lineup, Jaden Daniels is out of the lineup, Jaden Daniels is in the lineup, and it's like, how do you get any sort of continuity, any sort of flow established when your quarterback situation's a revolving door, right? And that's been brutal. But also, man, like this rushing attack, I know in the off season when I hopped on, like just before the regular season started, we had the Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt conversation. And I want you to know, Sam, I want you to know, I was excited after the Chargers game. I was a skeptic. You and I were both kind of skeptical of Bill when I hopped on. And then I bought in after the Chargers game. And then I think he has scored a combined 10 points since then in 3 weeks. And now I am very much out. I will not be burned by it anymore.
Well, I commented on a post by Sleeper NFL. I don't know what kind of drugs they're giving whoever runs that social media account, but I want some. But he made a post last night that said, wouldn't it be just like Bill to just rip up the Chiefs today? And I'm like, just like Bill? Like, we don't even know this guy. You're acting like you grew up with him. Oh, that's so Bill. That's so Bill.
Some of those accounts, man,
No.
are really steering into the maybe beating the dead horse is the right way to put it, but really steering into the whole Bill Krosky Merritt joke, legend of Bill Krosky Merritt thing, whatever, man. But in any case, like it is not a situation where I'm even comfortable firing him up as like a flex option right now.
Right. No, me
It's
neither. Me neither. And I got
so
there's
clear
people in
that
my leagues starting him religiously every week. And I'm like, there's somebody like Tyler Algier might be a better start.
He's absolutely a better start right now, man. Like it's one, Jeremy McNichols is very involved, and they do not trust Bill as any sort of pass catching back, right? He is not on the field for those situations. He had one target in this game, and it was at the very end when, the Commanders are in mop up duty. Let's get on the plane and get out of here, right? Like, so one, that limits his role entirely. But with the way that this offense has fallen into holes early over the last couple of weeks too, he's game scripted out of these games, right? Like you see him get to the 9, 8, 9, 10 carry mark, and then it's like, oh, we're down 2 scores. We can't keep using Bill. Jeremy McNichols, you're our leading receiver. Like
Yeah.
it's just been brutal.
I honestly would be surprised to see Bill on a 53 next year, on anyone's. Maybe somebody brings him in and well, they can't throw him on the practice squad. He's going to play too many games this year, but
That's a hot take.
I don't think he's going to be. I don't think he's going to be on a team in the NFL next year. I really don't. I don't see, I guess, what everybody else sees. Last but not least, tight ends. Brock Bowers is going to be back. He's practicing both with and without a brace, I guess, depending on the drills. But Pete Carroll says he's all systems go. Darren Waller and Mike Gesicki have matching broken teats and will not.
Is that the official medical diagnosis?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. I broke my teeth. So neither one of them will be here. I have been up since like 4:00 in the morning.
You're still doing it, man.
And if anybody is watching the show hoping for an update on Cole Kmet's back, I've got really bad news about your fantasy football team. Because
that's why they tuned in, man. The Cole Kmet update.
Yeah, everybody wants that. Everybody wants Cole Kmet update. So let's talk about something a little more fun. I'm just going to throw out some names here, and you tell me maybe who sticks out to you the most from this past weekend, because there were a couple surprises. As far as people that, we've been banging the table for to get more involved, and the coaches apparently hate us. Let me go up here. Okay. So right off the bat, TreVeyon Henderson had his best game. Once again, all these guys, none of them are going to be anything that blows you out of the water. But it's interesting to see, TreVeyon, the way he performed versus how Ramondre Stevenson performed. And is that going to translate into more carries?
Yeah, I think the big thing with TreVeyon Henderson is the timing of this performance is like the most appropriate fantasy football timing of all time. We were just having conversations last week about, is it time to cut ties? Is TreVeyon Henderson just not going to be a thing this year, right? And I do want to say the snap percentage was still much of the same, right? He was still only on the field for 21.5% of the Patriots' offensive snaps. However, his rushing yards over expected per attempt, which he has been one of the worst rated running backs in this metric all season, right? That's the thing with Henderson, too. I want to mention that real quick is when you go back and look at some of the advanced metrics on Travion Henderson, it's not just like, oh, wow, in limited usage, he's been awesome. They just don't trust him yet because of pass protection or whatever it is. He has consistently been near the bottom. It's been a performance issue as well. So to see his rushing yards over expected per attempt in this game on that limited amount of usage jump up to 1.9, I think is a promising development. He also forced 5 missed tackles on his 10 opportunities, which is, again, that is the type of performance you want to see in the very limited usage, right? The fact that he wasn't doing that with, the 21% share of the snaps was concerning. So this is a step in the right direction. I think the Travion Henderson, like, I guess if you were going to graph the hype of his season, right? We were at a peak. I don't think it's ever good to be at a peak in week 1, right? And then everything from there is just downhill.
Right.
And we reached the lowest point last week, I think. And now maybe we're trending up ever so slightly after that performance against the Browns too. And the Browns are a good run defense, right? So there's something here.
I
There's
mean,
a pulse.
Ramondre only had like 2.4 yards per carry in that game, which is pretty apropos when you're playing the Browns. And Travion had no problem getting through there.
100%. And that it's just as simple as like you want to see him max if he's going to have limited opportunities, if the usage is going to be as limited as it is, you want to see him maximize that. You want to see the efficiency. And we finally saw it against Cleveland. So that's a step in the right direction, man. We're trending upward. Hopefully you decided to hang on for one more week. I'm not saying he's anywhere near like startable territory right now, but he's getting closer, man. Like these are steps in the right direction. So
yeah, I mean, and I think it's important for people to recognize that Travion Henderson is always going to be in a supporting role, even if it's an even backfield split. He's not big enough, and he's not equipped to handle the every down work, in my opinion. Which is why Quinshon Judkins had so much success at Ohio State. Because the two of them fed off each other great. So when they find the right situation and the right percentage for whichever back he's back there with, whether it's Ramondre or somebody else, even if he gets the higher percentage of carries, I think that's great. I just don't think he can do it every down. But I think he would be more reliable, not as an every down back, to use that explosiveness to his advantage.
Yeah, and you certainly see that work out for some guys too. I think we're seeing a little bit, and it's not obviously none of these are one for one comparisons, but just in the same sort of realm as the less volume could equal a bit of a boom in efficiency. I think we've seen that a little bit with Chase Brown, right? Samaje Perine has been involved in the last 2 weeks. He was up over 40% of the snaps in this last week game. And I don't mean to completely derail the conversation. This is just an example.
Oh, no, not at all. Not at all. I said what I was going to say.
Yeah, I don't think I think a lot of times when you hear like timeshare or 1A, 1B or committee, it's like the kiss of death in fantasy. And I don't think it has to be. I think especially in recent years with some of these guys really booming, with fewer than 60% of the snaps. James Cook has been at fewer than 60% of the snaps for the last 2 seasons, and look at where we're at with him, right? So
Yeah.
sometimes there is something to be said about the efficiency boost that comes with scaling the usage back. Even if Travion is one of those guys, that doesn't automatically mean that he's going to be relegated to a role where he can't still have elite upside eventually.
Yeah, no, and he would still be a startable fantasy asset in that situation. I mean, the key to it is a team that knows how to work it and can game plan the right way. Look, Jalen Warren, before he really kind of took a hold of the starting job this year, that's what he was. I mean, he was a startable fantasy asset, even as, getting the lower percentage of snaps. Go all the way back to Mark Ingram and Alvin Kamara when they were together,
Yeah.
or Montgomery and Gibbs even. Obviously Montgomery's getting a little up there, but you know what I'm saying? It's doable. You just need the right coaching staff and right game plan, probably the right offensive coordinator is what I should say.
Yeah.
So,
And we'll see. I think it's one of those situations where like there's still so much to be settled with Travion Henderson, right? Maybe this is a down the stretch. I don't know if it's going to be. I don't think we're gonna get the optimal outcome for Travion Henderson this season. I still think he's gonna be a great player. I still think he's a super appealing dynasty asset, right? But just because it doesn't happen immediately, I think all of the pain with Travion Henderson is maximized because of the buy-in that we saw during draft season, right? He was elevated to like he returned that kickoff in the first preseason game and it bumped his ADP up around. You know what I'm saying?
everybody
Like
lost their
that's where we
minds.
were. Yeah, that's where we were. And like that, I think you were drafting him at like maybe I was gonna say best case scenario, but I don't even know if that was the best case scenario. I think we were in a different stratosphere with Travion Henderson that maybe wasn't even fair to him as a rookie running back.
Yeah, no, I
So
agree.
I don't think it's a sunk cost by any means. We could continue to trend in the right direction, but it's very clear that this year, like unless Ramondre goes down, right, that this is going to be a situation where Ramondre is very involved.
So do you feel like he is going to see about the same number of carries and output that he saw this week, or do you think next week Vrabel's going to take him back down to like 2 carries and like 3 touches?
Yeah, I think I always like focus in on the snap percentages, right? And I
Yeah.
try to now that we're in week 9, right? Now that we have 8 games worth of a sample. I don't think the Pats have had their bye yet. I could be mistaken, but I don't think we're there yet with the Patriots.
No, I don't think so.
Um, but once you break that down and you start to look at like how frequently he's played, I mentioned where he was at in this past game. He was at 21% of the snaps, which is pretty limited, right? And
Yeah,
obviously that
yeah, it's
equated to
not
10
much.
right. Obviously that equated to 10 opportunities. But when you look at, okay, in week 5 against Buffalo, that was the game that Antonio Gibson tore his ACL and he was kind of thrust into that expanded role because oddly enough, man, he was still even it felt like behind Antonio Gibson
Yeah,
depending on situations, right?
yeah,
Antonio Gibson was spelling Ramondre Stevenson at times. So from that point on, where he played 48.2% of the snaps against Buffalo, he's been at 29.3 against New Orleans, 14.1 against Tennessee, and then 21.5 against Cleveland. That's where his snap percentages have been. That's equated to 11 opportunities, 2 opportunities against Tennessee, and then 10 opportunities against Cleveland. So I think that's roughly what you should expect. Maybe that expands a little bit, but until that trends upward, even north of like, oh, okay, now we're back up to 35. Now we're back up to 40% of the snaps. I don't think we can look at a bump from 14.1 to 21.5 and be like, oh, okay, yeah, he really figured it out. It was obviously his best game as a pro, But I think I need to see Josh McDaniels look at that and say, oh yeah, okay, like let's reward that a little bit. Maybe we've seen what we need to see. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. And the irony is not lost on me here either, that he got his snap share up to above 20% against probably the best run defense in the National Football League. Are they just throwing him to the wolves? Like, did Ramondre need a breather or what? But yeah, that's something else. I'll tell you what, Colton, I got to step aside for 1 second here and let the Podfather tell the people about the Quick Six Super Slam. This is a DFS game with no salary caps. You literally just pick the 6 guys you like the best, put them in a lineup. You're not playing against bots or computers or anything. You're just playing against other people. I won money last week. How about that?
There you go.
I mean, not that I'm bragging or anything. I didn't win a ton of money, but I won. But let the Podfather tell you about it.
Pour one out for an incredible best ball season. It was a breakout 2025 for Fast Draft, but now the NFL action has started. That means it's DFS season. That's right. You might think, oh, wow, DFS, I can't win DFS. Oh, but you can on Fast Draft. You just pick any 6 guys, and you put them in a handful of booster spots. There's no salary rubric you have to follow. You're not going up against thousands of killer bots in these tournaments. Oh, no. These are regular people grabbing their 6 favorite plays of the week, and that's all you have to do. And we post the ownership so that you can choose how much chalk you want. There is no drafting. It's called the Quick Six Super Slam. The Quick Six Super Slam is the signature DFS contest at Fast Draft. It is changing DFS. We are making DFS great again. So go to fastdraft.app and use your host promo code for a $50 deposit match. And let's go start drafting faster.
Let's go start drafting faster. That
was
promo
a great
code,
way to end that, man.
That promo code is right there. You could type in WHIP and get your money matched up to $50. 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, doesn't matter. They'll match whatever it is. It's a lot of fun, and it takes, obviously, if you know the games, you could pick out your 6 guys pretty quickly and just put them in there. And it doesn't matter if anybody else has them or not. And even the Flex 6 Frenzy, which is still a draft, has been lowered to 8 teams. So, and it's 20-second clock. So drafting 6 players on the Frenzy takes all of about, 6 minutes. So it flies by. So, and that's the whole idea behind Fast Draft, is you don't have to sit there and wait for hours while somebody's trying to figure out who he's going to take. Colton, you got about 15 more minutes?
Yeah, man, let's do it. 15 sounds perfect for me.
All right. Are you sure? Because
yes.
we can hang up the phone right now if you want.
I can do 15 more, Sam. I can make that happen.
Let's do 15. Man. All right, let's start with this. I'm just going to throw you out a couple names. You tell me from performances this past weekend or possibly the last 2 weeks, who's interesting you the most as far as either somebody you've added or someone you plan on adding?
Yeah. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
That's all right. I'm going to throw you some names. I want you to pick some. Well, unless you got somebody, because I'm sure
I may have jumped the gun a little bit, and I totally missed the part where you said you had names for me. I actually like that way more, so let's do it that way.
Okay. Well, I was going to name off of just pretty much everybody, so the guy you were going to mention is going to be in there.
Let's see if he's on there. Let's see if he's on your list. I'll stop you if I hear him. All right.
Okay. Roman Wilson. 4 on 5 targets, 74 yards, TD. Trey Harris, who pretty much plays the same way as Quentin Johnston, who has disappeared. Only caught 2 passes. One was a touchdown. Let's see here. Troy Franklin.
That was my name. That was the guy.
Is that your guy? Yeah, he's
that's who I was gonna
reunited.
mention.
He and Drake May are reunited, and it feels so good. We'll go back to him in just a second for you. I want to hear what you have to say. Blinken, you missed it, but RJ Harvey had 3 touchdowns just out of absolutely nowhere. Not that he's not had a couple decent performances this year. He has, but a hat trick of TDs and 51 yards from scrimmage. That's pretty good. I'd say I don't know that means danger for J.K. Dobbins, but I do think it could be a happy marriage, sort of what we were just talking about with the idea of 2 backs, where both could be beneficial for fantasy. Last one I'll mention right now is Rondé Gadsden, who just, came out of nowhere and set the world on fire the last 2 weeks. He's looking like a must-have. Doesn't even look like a tight end. I don't even know what position he is. He's just the go catch the ball guy.
Yeah.
And Herbert loves him. You can tell.
You're 100% right. And you mentioned, when you were bringing up Trey Harris, you mentioned that we've kind of lost Quentin Johnston a little bit. And we've lost Quentin Johnston a little bit because Rondé Gadsden has been nuclear, right? He has just been like such a cheat code at the tight end position. And we were talking about this on one of my live streams last week. What happens, because somebody brought up Ladd McConkey, and they mentioned they don't want Gadsden to break out because they don't want to lose Ladd McConkey. And my approach was, I don't think, and this was before the Thursday night game, I don't think Rondé Gadsden being a thing comes at the cost of Ladd McConkey. I also don't think it comes at the cost of Keenan Allen. I think Quentin Johnston is the guy that we lose out on. And at this point, Quentin Johnston strikes me as, we saw him with 0 looks in that Thursday night game, man. He strikes me right now as a very touchdown dependent type of guy in this offense, where even, the Chargers in that Colts game, which was a weird game, but even in that Dolphins game, they were up over 70%, a 70% passer rate, if I'm not mistaken. I know it was up in the 68 to 73% range. The Chargers are throwing the ball a ton, right?
Yeah.
And so Gadsden is one of those guys where he was somebody I got the Brinks truck out for in the waiver cycle, man. I was at that position. To have a guy who's essentially playing wide receiver at tight end is such a cheat code. It does remind me, it's not the same player, but the fantasy upside and the fantasy appeal that comes with a guy like that reminds me of prime Darren Waller, where he was just breaking those Raider seasons, right? Where he was just breaking the tight end position kind of.
Yeah.
And that's where I'm at with Gadsden. I think we've seen 3 games now. I think we've seen the usage continue to increase. And what's also encouraging is the Chargers were up. Like I said, they were up 14-0 in the second quarter. They didn't even have to throw a ton. It was all Gadsden on that first drive, right? So when you're looking at that and you're like, okay, is this dude even relatively game script? Is he that game script dependent?
No,
he's involved regardless.
He's out there
100%, and he does so many things well. He's an air yardage per attempt type of guy. He can get you yards after the catch. He's involved in the red zone. All of those things, man. He's been so reliable. I think there's no mirage about this with Gadsden. What we're seeing is real. And I think him, Ladd McConkey, and Keenan Allen are all going to be really useful fantasy assets.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting that in the last 2 weeks, we kind of started the season. It was very heavy Keenan Allen, Quentin Johnston, and everybody was like, "Where's Lad McConkey?" Like they couldn't believe he wasn't getting more looks. And I'm like, well, last year there wasn't anybody else out there besides him. And now in the last 2 weeks, it's kind of transitioned to like Gadsden and McConkey, because Gadsden was second to McConkey in targets this weekend, ahead of Harris, ahead of Johnston, ahead of Keenan Allen. It's at the end of the day, the Chargers have more weapons than anybody thought they did.
Yes,
you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Everybody was like, well, Johnston could be all right. And they're like, Keenan's getting kind of old. And they're like, can Trey Harris break into that lineup? And who's Aronde Gadsden?
Yeah.
But
Well, we know now.
It turns out now that they've got just an unbelievable amount of weapons, and this is all happening with Omari and Hampton off the field.
Yeah. And that's going to be an interesting layer to this as well, is what does this all look like with Omari and Hampton back in the mix? But I will say, we saw a big Lad McConkey game. We saw a big Aronde Gadsden game. And we also saw a big Kamani Vidal game where he was pretty dominant on the ground against Minnesota. Right. So I don't necessarily think like, oh, okay, this is a situation where Gadsden and McConkey and occasionally Keenan Allen are these super useful fantasy assets because the Chargers are down their super phenom rookie running back. Right. I do think that there's some sustainability to this because we saw Kamani Vidal still have a really effective sort of like dominant game against Minnesota, which was incredibly interesting. He was kind of my preference going into that waiver cycle between him and Haskins, but I never thought it would be as like a bell cow type of guy. And that's what we saw against
me
Minnesota.
neither. I've been a fan since he came out. I drafted him all over the place last year. And, he got moved down to the practice squad a couple times. And this offseason, and I'm not usually one to cut bait quickly. This offseason, I was like, I just don't think Kamani Vidal is going to get his chance. I think he's good enough. I just don't think he's going to get the chance. So good for him that he is now. But I think one of the other things you see in Los Angeles with the Chargers is you see an entire group of guys that are not me guys. They're us guys. So they're willing to share the wealth. If one guy has a good game and the other four don't, they don't care. They're in it to win it. And a lot of that comes from Jim Harbaugh, as much as I hate to admit it. But he's a good coach. But you wanted to talk about Troy Franklin a little bit.
Yeah, when you mentioned a guy that I'm like kind of excited about, and we've kind of seen a promising trend developing, that was the first name that came to mind. And I covered him in my Dreams and Nightmares piece at Footballguys this week. But this is a situation looking at Troy Franklin, and he kind of just had that breakout game against Dallas, right? And you can look at, okay, Marvin Mims missed some time in that game. It was kind of a blowout from the jump, all of those things. But when I went back and looked at the last 4 games, which I think anytime you can develop a trend over a 4-game sample that progressively moves in the right direction, like week after week after week, that's incredibly promising. And with Troy Franklin, when I went back and looked at his target share from week 5 against the Eagles to this week 8 game against Dallas, he was at 12.8% in week 5 of his target share of Denver's targets, right? Week 6, he was at 13.3, week 7, 20%. And then week 8, he was at 27.6% of the targets, which is incredible. And his route participation was up at 86.2%. I mean, huge spike in the efficiency. I'll just acknowledge that. He went from 0.5 yards per route run in week 7 to 3.6 in week 8, which is kind of absurd. You can't really expect that. But at the same time, he's giving you what you need from a receiver in this offense, right? The air yardage per target is consistently up. He dropped to 5.3 in week 6 against the Jets, but that was just a weird game. It's consistently up between 17 and 15 has kind of been the range in terms of air yardage per target. And this is kind of a downfield passing attack, right? You see a lot of these guys, Marvin Mims, Cortland Sutton, Troy Franklin, they're all up in those like mid-teens figures in terms of air yardage per target. So you're seeing him give you exactly what you need from a receiver in this offense. And clearly over the last 4 games, the route participation growing, the target share growing, the snap share has kind of hung around the high 50s to low 60s, but it's very obvious that he is sort of breaching this Sean Payton circle of trust. And I think when you're in that circle, that is a very promising place to be.
That's a good place to
Troy
be.
Franklin, yeah. If Troy Franklin, for whatever reason, is hanging out on waivers, maybe somebody dropped him after the dud against the Jets, right? This might be your last opportunity.
Yeah, but he's only 38% rostered right now.
So there's a chance, man. There's a chance.
Pretty much right around 40 across the board, regardless of platform. It's interesting. You mentioned looking for the trends, the people that are trending in the right direction. When I write Fantasy Whiplash each week, it's kind of evolved from what it was last year. Because I really need to fit so much injury jargon in there. Hey, Rosie. She said, can y'all start over? I just got here.
Let's take it from the top for Rosie.
Rosie, but she doesn't need any advice. She just, all she does is kick everybody's butt. But, so I've kind of streamlined it a little bit so that I fit all the injuries in. And instead now of just quips and quick hits, I usually write a pretty good, solid amount of philosophy that week for something that will help beginners. And the subject changes each week, how you should attack waivers at the bikepocalypse, how you should be watching what your league mates are dropping just as much as you're watching who's on the waiver wire. But today, I mentioned this is the point in the season. It's a make or break point. This is the point where you stop just rostering safe guys that can plug holes and start like taking a flyer on a guy that could be a lottery ticket, especially after a week like we just had. Don't roster Odell Beckham Jr. and Tyler Lockett and I don't know who else. Jalen Hyatt. Don't put those guys in there just because you know their name and you might be forced into playing them. This is the time to go, if RJ Harvey's out there, pick him up, let him sit on the bench until he blows up and he might be the league winner. You never know.
There you go. Do you see that question in the chat? I kind of like that one.
Looks
like I here. Well, yeah, there we go.
Do I trade Chain and Sutton for Puka and Woody Marks, Jaquavius? My wide receivers are Sutton, Waddle, and Pearsall. My running backs are Saquon, Henry, Achane, Dowdle, and Charbonnet.
What do you think?
I think that the running back situation is fine if you let Marks walk. And I'm a huge Marks fan, but I'm looking at it, you're going to turn around and he's trading a Chain, but he gets Marks back. And I love that. I love that exchange. because Miami's going nowhere fast. Well, neither is Houston really, but Woody Marks has something to prove. Puka way over Sutton in my opinion. Puka's going to challenge still for the yardage title by the end of the year, even after missing some time. So, yeah, I think the answer for me is I would do it. Partially, it's because I really love Woody Marks, and I think he's only going to get more and more carries as the season goes on.
This one is tough. I'm like going back and forth on it. And maybe it's just because I have a lot of Achane stock.
Mm-hmm.
But man, having a running back room of Saquon, Derrick Henry, and Devon Achane, like King Henry with Lamar Jackson, right? Like I think we're about to get some prime King Henry games back in the mix here with Rico Dot. Like that running back room is so deep that you certainly could move on from Devon Achane and acquire Puka. I still just think Cortland Sutton is so chronically underrated, man. Like he's the wide receiver.
No, I do
right
too.
Now.
I do too, but it's no contest for me between him and Nakua.
Oh, 100%. 100%.
So
I think for me, it comes down to the gap between Achane and Woody, but also I think you can absorb that a little bit because of the depth that you have at your running back room. But I also think Devon Achane is your safest asset in your running back room right now. 0.9 half PPR points per opportunity is absurd. That's behind only Jonathan Taylor. But Puka is a reception hog too. So
I
tough,
agree
man.
with
I think
that. We also just saw, and it could just be an anomaly for one weekend. We saw Ollie Gordon finally get more touches in Miami, and the team's not going anywhere near the playoffs. There's actually already been some talk that Achane could get moved, but I don't think they will. But I mean, that possibility is there. When you've got Ollie Gordon looking like Ollie Gordon from college, or from college 2 years ago. So the same way you're partial to Achane, I'm partial to Woody Marks. I think he'll render Chubb useless pretty much by the end of the season, save for some goal line carries perhaps, and Achane already loses those too. So
I totally get it. I think, man, it's not a bad deal regardless of which direction you go in.
Yeah, I agree.
And I think you got a split here from the panel, Andrew. So I that's a tough one, man. I guess it all depends on how comfortable you are, because I think Achane is your most consistent running back. But
I think the best thing we can tell you right now, Andrew, is that we both think this deal is fair regardless.
Yes, that's true.
So it's probably time to go with your gut, man. Or if there's a player you particularly like better than the rest of them in this deal, then take that side.
I concur 100%. I don't think anybody's getting hosed here. It's always cool to acquire Puka as well. So if you're looking at this like, wow, I could add Puka to a team with Saquon and Derrick Henry, then I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
I don't either. Let me just see if there was someone else in particular I wanted to mention. I like Troy Franklin too, because I told people all day long last year that he and Knicks would be excited to play together. I just didn't know I'd have to wait a year.
Yeah. It took him till that second year, right? But it looks like it's happening now, man.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm a big fan of Tez Johnson. And I don't think his role's going anywhere with Evans gone for the season. What about you?
Yeah, man. I called him. I affectionately refer to him as Tezzy Tutties on my show because all he does is score. Didn't score this last week, but we're gonna see if that catches on. I don't know.
I like
Anyway,
it.
I all of that to say,
I'll start using it.
Tezzy Tutties, man. All of that to say, I do like that he's taking advantage of this opportunity too, and there is certainly an opportunity here, right? When we're looking at no Mike Evans in the mix and kind of looking at how these roles have shaken out, it's been Emeka Egbuka out wide. Sterling Shepard has been a primary slot guy, and then you do see quite a bit of Tez Johnson in the mix as well. So there's definitely a path here to consistent production. It's now just a matter of we need the Bucks to get into some shootouts, right? As long as they're
Yeah,
not playing the Saints.
I
Yeah.
think if anybody currently in that wide receiver core is going to lose touches if and when Godwin comes back. They keep threatening that he will. He obviously came back too soon before. But I think it'll be Sterling Shepard will be the one to lose out on a lot of the snaps. I don't think they'll take Tez Johnson off the outside. He's just too much of a burner.
Yeah, man. He has given them something for sure without Mike Evans in the mix. So I like him too. I'm with you on Tezzy Tutties, man.
All right, let's I'll tell you what, we're going to wrap it up because we're right up against it, but this is a Tuesday night show, so we might as well just tell them somebody we like on the waiver wire. Give them a name or two, whatever you want.
Check on Troy Franklin. And then I
Mhm.
think there's something. I think the Bengals have found something with the Samaje Perine Chase Brown mix. I think there's something there, and I feel horrible because on my show last week, somebody was like, "What do you think about Samaje Perine?" And I'm like, I just don't know if there's enough there to think
Right.
that the Bengals are going to go back to keeping him involved, and they did. And now that I think Chase Brown has looked a lot more efficient. I think Samaje Perine has a lot to do with that and spelling him a little bit. Perine also played 100% of the third down snaps in that game. Chase Brown didn't log a single third down snap. So there is a very
Yep.
clear role here for Samaje Perine. And I think
But
there's value there.
Chase Brown cannot pass block.
Right. And
He's
now we're in a
horrible.
situation where and we're in a situation where he can be spelled a little bit. He can be more efficient, and I think it behooves the Bengals to unlock that. They're going to be much more efficient with two guys involved. This is a consistent role, and he's probably going to be somewhat cheap compared to other running backs that have come available over the course of the season. So Samaje Perine and Troy Franklin for me.
Nice. I like it. First one I'm going to go with is for some reason I can't understand. Actually, I can. The tight end market in the mid range has gotten a little saturated this year, and that's a good thing. That means there's good players out there to be had, and even more on the waiver wire. But I'm looking at Mason Taylor from the Jets. For all intents and purposes, he's the wide receiver 2 on that team, and he's a tight end. He's only 28% rostered. I started him last week, and he got his first touchdown of the season. I'm not saying I had something to do with that, but maybe. So I'm definitely going Mason Taylor, and I'm kind of looking here. I really want to say make sure you're checking your waiver wire for all these guys in case they were Bipocalypse casualties. But even RJ Harvey's up in the 70% range. I would say I keep telling people to get Tez Johnson. He's only rostered in half the leagues across platforms. So yeah, I would go with Tez Johnson from Tampa Bay and Mason Taylor from the New Jersey Jets of New York at the Meadowlands Central Park adjacent.
There you go. I don't think that's too wordy at all. You can fit that on the jersey right here, right? Put it right here.
That's like I took that from there was a guy on a radio show in LA who I listened to every day, and he used to call the Angels the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim Disneyland adjacent.
They are right there. It makes sense.
We're up against it. I think that's all she wrote, don't you? The fat
Works for me, man. We got a lot in there, man.
We did. We did. And if there's anybody left, I hope they enjoyed listening to us. Although there's 100, it says there's 139 people watching the stream somewhere. So I guess that's good. You want to tell everybody where to find your stuff, man?
For sure, man. I am on Twitter at FFCDod. You can find me over there. I also host a twice weekly podcast called The Great Fantasy Football Show. You can find those episodes on YouTube or podcast platforms of choice, all of that good stuff. And then I do twice weekly streams. I will be streaming Thursday night. I stream just before, an hour and a half before Thursday Night Football's kickoff. And then typically I'm streaming on Friday nights as well. So you can come to those streams, drop all of your questions. I interact with the chat, do all that good stuff. It's a lot of fun. So if that sounds interesting to you, check that out. Again, The Great Fantasy Football Show. And then all of that is linked on my X profile or Twitter profile as well at FFCDod.
And you can find the Twitter names FFCDod and Buy and Sell You. They are both in the description of this video. So you can track us down. I do this every Tuesday, and then every Saturday night I do a sleepers show with the Yards Per Fantasy Network, as well as a start and sit show Sundays before the games start. And I write an article of the same name as this show, but some of the content is much different, and there might be a couple chuckles involved. So that's always good.
Go. Chuckles are good.
I'm always good for an Amber Heard joke. I'll promise you that much. All right. Say good night to the people, Colton.
Good night, everybody. Thanks for stopping by. 10-teamer in a home league. Tez or Troy? Troy. There we go.